twisting. Thank God I get to do part 2 of this Raw recap and review from August 3rd, 2026 in Des Moines, Iowa. Left off with the big returns of Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer, and now we're moving on to the Rula over Femi. He's popping out for a promo. Before he came out, he had a little meet up with Paul Heyman saying he never got to say thank you to Brock for all the things he said. And he says next time you see him, tell him to say I said thank you. And Paul says, sure, sir. He was calling that man sir and everything. That's hilarious. But now when back in the ring, he says, you know, him and Lesnar went to war. And going back in the war, they found mutual respect between each other. And he says, you know, when he first beat Brock, he thought like Brock wasn't accepting that he's the one. But when he realized that it was really a test to see if he was really the one for real. He said that WrestleMania was the test to see if he could swim. And then everything leading up to SummerSlam was whether he can hold his breath. And he said fighting Brock and Hell in a Cell, he went to the deepest depths and he swam all the way back up. And now the Beast can finally rest, saying basically he's replaced Brock Lesnar as that guy. And he says something really interesting. He says, I will lead the new generation and he will get rid of all the old guard. And in the old guard, they will fall. And he says, and if they have a problem with him, and if they have a problem with it, they're gonna have to answer with him. They're gonna have to deal with him. And then he heads out, and then the Vision pop out, cause like they having a matchup. We got Austin Theory with Maxine Dupree and Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker in gear, so he finna wrestle. And that whole time he pops out, he gonna take his eyes off of Oba. They have a face off. And Theory gotta separate and put him away. He said, "Come on, bro." He said, "Come on, bro. Come on. Let's get to the ring." So Braun is pissed, and then that leads on to a third match of the night. We get Braun Breaker versus Joe Hendry. We have a commercial break after the face-off. Joe Hendry's in the ring now, and they ring the bell. But this time, Braun is just staring at the stage. He's not even paying attention to Joe. And not at all. And Joe's confused. He's like, man, what's coming up? Ref, what we doing? Then Braun finally turns around. Big clothesline, knocking that man down. That leads to him rolling out the ring. And then he just turns back around, just keeps staring at the stage. He really won't over for real. That leads to on the outside, Theory talking smack to Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry grabbed a man, throw him into the ring post, and then hit that man with a big clothesline. That leads to Braun going to the outside trying to do the run around spear, but that gets dodged by Joe. He jumps over him. He ends up hitting the steps, and then he grabs Austin Theory and then throws him over a table with Joe. And then Joe finally gets back into the ring, right to a spear by Braun. 1, 2, 3. Braun gets the win. It was like a goofy little squash match that makes Joe look a little good and a little stupid for even caring about Austin Theory that much. And then that leads to Braun getting his belt, heading straight out. But Austin Theory still has beef with Joe. He starts beating him up back and forth. But Tozawa from Alpha Academy, he pops out of there to help Joe and also get back for what he did to Otis on last Raw, smacking that man with the chair on the ring post. And he goes to the middle rope, hit that man with a Hurricanrana. And then he kicked that man to the outside. And it was a funny thing with like Tozawa saying, come on. And Theory's like, you lucky she holding me back right now. Talking about Dupree. I'm like, this. Man, you can get past her. So yeah, goofy segment, but I guess they wanted to build tension between Braun and Oba. And that sounded like a banger match, I'm not gonna lie. Then we finally get to hear from Big Cass in an interview, and he says it took him 8 years from the lowest depths to finally make it back to WWE. And he says that even though he attacked Javon, it's nothing personal. He just wants to stack bodies. And Javon is not the only body he gonna stack. So he just letting it know he don't got no real beef with nobody. He just want to knock everybody down to get that money and they get them belts. That's sad. Where's Enzo Amore though? Where's Enzo at? I thought we was gonna have fun, Big Cat. We got angry Big Cat. He remind me of Test. I'm not gonna lie. Like when Test got swole all of a sudden. So yeah, I wonder how they're gonna be booking Big Cass. It's interesting. They must have a little stock in him to bring him back, you know. So we get a promo from the new Intercontinental Champion Chad Gable. He won in his hometown last night at SummerSlam. He gets into the ring and he says that was the greatest moment of his career. And he heard a lot of people saying that he deserves it, and he's never been the type of guy to say that he deserves anything. He works hard and he wants to earn everything, but everyone who said it to him, he did thank. And he says tonight he wants to thank some more people that he didn't get to. And he says he thanks Penta for being a real IC champ. He went through all the problems and all the defenses, and he did it like a man. So he wanted to give him his flowers for that. He wants to thank the WWE Universe for being there for a long 10 years. Through all his ups and downs, from when they called him Shorty G. Vince was tweaking with that one, and now he's like just thankful for, like, even when he went bad and he went heelish, they still believed on him. And he said he made a promise that he was gonna win a singles title, and he said he always reminds his kids that if you're gonna make a promise, you gotta bust your ass trying to deliver the promise. And he says he's proud to be our champion. And at least the Penta popping out, and Penta pop out, he says, Chad, you deserve this title. And he says, last night we stole the show, and he would like to give him his own flowers. He says, you made mistakes, but you changed those mistakes, and that's why I respect you now. And he says, Chad, you are a true luchador, and you are one of the best wrestlers in the world. And that leads to the Judgment Day popping out. JD McDonough, Dominic Mysterio. They said, man, what is up with all this trash y'all talking about? Dom says, what's up with the garbage about Chad being a real luchador? I'm a real luchador. I'm the king of the luchadors. I'm the AAA champion. And I'm the greatest Mysterio of all time. And JD says, Dom, how do all these people celebrate these guys? Like, how do they cheer for them? He said, and JD says, Chad, your best match was you playing a luchador and losing. and he says, Penta, you lost to Chad last night, so what does that make you? Are you the weakest luchador? And Dom says, Gable, you're just holding the belt. You're just keeping the belt warm for me, because the Judgment Day are here to collect all the gold and Gable says, oh, you trying to collect the gold? So you mean you ready to go? You ready to fight right now, right? Why don't we fight right now? And Dom accepted it. Usually Dom be running, but he accepted it, and that's how we get to a tag team match. Next up, we get the Judgment Day, JD McDonough, Dom Mysterio versus the super team of Chad Gable and Penta. And the match starts during a commercial break. So we get back from the commercial break, and we got Gable hitting big gut-rich slams back and forth from a dirty Dom. And then he finishes off by hitting with a big butterfly suplex when you catch the arms up and throw them back up. 1, 2, kick out from Dom. Then Gable gets Irish whipping Dom, but Dom does the jump over him. He hits the rope, but then he catches him, boom, and then to a throw back belly to belly suplex by Gable. 1, 2, another kick out from Dominic after that. Then Gable does one of my favorite moves. He gets him in the corner, grabs his leg, Dragon School on that man, wrenching that leg. It was nasty. He ended up tagging in Penta to get some offense in. He does the stall drop kick, and then he picks him up and throws him right into Gable, who does the belly to belly right into the corner. Crazy combo. 1, 2, kick out from Dom. Dom getting whooped right now, by the way. Then Penta picks up Dom, gets him on the rope, and just loads of a big leg kick, knocking him down. And then he Irish whips him, but then he gets Irish whipped. He hits the rope, and then JD kicks him in the back, and that's how we get into the Judgment Day getting advantage. With them tagging in, they getting multiple attacks back and forth for the corner, and then JD hits a big clothesline on him. It's a JD then picking up Penta, hitting a big snap suplex on him, goes for a pin, but Penta kicks out of it. Then the Irish whip Penta. He tries to drop down for a back body drop, but Penta kicks him in the chest, and then runs and hits the rope for the reverse sling blade. But Penta gets ahead of himself, and JD finds a way to tag in Dom. Dom gets in the ring, hits multiple strikes back and forth on him, and then gets JD in, and they both hit a dual suplex on him. But it gets reversed by Penta. He jumps through past him. Hot tag to Chad Gable. He goes to the top rope, double clothesline onto the men, and they both hit stereo super kicks to JD and Dom. That leads to them going outside the ring. Penta runs out there. There's the tope con hilo, which is basically a swanton bomb over the top rope. And he throws Dom back into the ring, and Chad hits him with a big angle slam. 1, 2, kick out from Dom again. That leads to Dominic then running outside the ring. Chad Gable tries to chase him, but as he's chasing him, JD finds a way to hit him with a headbutt. And then he hits him with a throw a belly-to-belly suplex on the outside of the ring. That's how we get to a commercial break. Get back from the commercial break with JD hitting the power slam on the Chad Gable, and then hitting the standing moonsault on him. Hold for the pin. 1, 2, kick out from Chad. At least JD trying to go to the top rope. But Chad gets up there and they start fighting back and forth. Hits him with a headbutt, knocks him down. Then he goes for the flying headbutt right there. At least with a double down. They crawl to their corners. You know what that means. Hot tag. Penta gets into the ring. Hurricane on the Dom. Then picks him up for a big backbreaker. Right into the Penta driver. 1, 2. But JD stops the pin right there. That leads into a trying to go to the top rope. But Penta stops him. Puts his head underneath the thing. Super kick right there. Tags in Gable. Gable does the moonsault off the top rope. But Dom puts his legs up. But Gable catches the leg, puts him to the ankle lock. He got the ankle lock right there. He's wrenching on it. But JD gets into the ring. Hits a big headbutt on the Gable. And then, but as he does that, Penta hits a clothesline onto JD to the outside. And then hits the Mexican Destroyer on the JD on the outside. Back into the ring. We got Dom find a way to get the hammer so he can do the 619. He goes for the 619, but Gable catches his legs, pulls the hammer out, gives it to the ref, and then that leads to a ref getting distracted. Dom hits the rope pull on the Gable, but here comes Penta using kind of Dom's butt, grabs the belt, hits Dom with the belt, back into the ring. Gable hits the big chaos theory, crazy roll around German suplex. 1, 2, 3. Good dub for Penta and Gable. Entertaining match. Good back and forths. Sucks we didn't get to see the beginning of the match, but it is what it is. Chad, Gable, and Penta, they have really good chemistry against each other and working together. Dom and JD just keep losing. They just keep losing. And like one of these days, Liv's going to have to be like, hey man, you need to start winning or I'm going to leave. You know what I mean? But I give that match a 4.5 stars. Good tag team wrestling. Good ring work, good lucha, just a great match. Then we get to our main event of the evening, and it is the street fight between Jacob Fatu and Royce Keys. And the match starts off real emotional between the men because Royce is like, we didn't need to do this, man. We didn't need to do that. But Jacob say, hey, we here now. We got to get into it. And then he starts getting to the big strike exchange, punches, back and forth. Royce ends it by picking up Jacob and slamming him right into the corner, hitting multiple corner spears back and forth. But Fatu gets off of him by hitting a big running elbow onto him and then grabbing Royce and then slamming him back and forth onto turnbuckles. And then he Irish whips him into the corner, tries to go for the Samoan jumping splash on him. But, you know, every Samoan for some reason jumps high as hell, hits their head on the ring post. They miss. And then at least Royce Keys hitting a big running splash onto him his own. But then Fatu gets up, hits a big elbow of his own, and then clotheslines him to the outside. Leads him then trying to go for that leads him to then go hit the suicide dive on the Royce on the outside of the ring. Tries to Irish whip him into the stairs, but Royce turns it around and throws him into the stairs. He ends up flipping over it. And then that leads to Royce hearing the crowd saying, we want tables. He tries to pull out a table, but Jacob Fatu stops the fun by knocking him down, ending that. That leads to Fatu then grabbing Royce and then slamming him back and forth into the announce table and then slamming him into the post. Royce fights back from Fatu and lands a big clothesline, and then he picks up Jacob and then slams him through the barricade. And then he finally gets to the table he was looking for. He puts it into the ring, but he's taking a lot of time putting weapons in the ring. So Fatu, he finally recovers. He picks up Royce and slams him into the ring post and a spear. And then he grabs him and throws him over the announce table. Royce hit the ground hard over that. And then now it's time for Fatu to get some weapons. He grabs some chairs. He throws multiple chairs back into the ring. Royce Keys climbs into the table and then dives off of it, landing on the Fatu. And now Then he picks up Fatu and then throws him into the steps, and then he says, "Now it's my turn to put some chairs into the ring." He throws a bunch of chairs into the ring, and it was funny. The crowd saying, "One more chair, one more chair," when he stopped putting chairs in. That's funny. But then Fatu tries to grab Royce from inside the ring, but Royce Keys has an ace up his sleeve. He grabs a kendo stick, whopping that man back and forth, and he can see the welts on Jacob back. That was nasty. But then he took a little too long dealing with chairs because Fatu ends up grabbing the kendo stick and swapping him back and forth with the kendo, and then even puts the kendo stick on his mouth trying to choke him with it. Cool spot. He sets up two chairs like in a table situation and tries to lift up Royce for the suplex, but Royce reverses him and then puts him with the suplex on the chairs. 1, 2, kick out from Fatu. That was the first pinfall in like forever. They were just whooping each other's ass the whole time. But then Fatu gets up and then grabs him and does the Impaler DDT, aka the execution, onto the chairs. Then it goes for the pin off of that. 1, 2, kick out from Royce. Then at least the Fatu getting upset. He grabs chairs and he's whopping him back and forth for chairs. He goes to the top rope to do a move, but Royce gets up, grabs the chair, and then throws it at him while he's on the top rope. And then he goes up there and then hits the big power slam off the top rope onto a set of chairs on the ground. I know that shit hurt. 1, 2, kick out from Fatu though. They get back up. Fatu hits him with a big super kick. He hits the ropes, but he instantly gets hit with a big spine buster by Royce Keys. And then he has the table set up. He's finna run towards him and put him through it. But Fatu lifts him up right into a big pop-up Samoan right into the table. Then he hits him with the big mighty moonsault. And then he doesn't pin him after that. He instantly goes for that tongue and death grip right there. He's crippling on his throat. Royce is fighting back and forth. He's fighting, but he passes out of it. He loses the match off of that. Jacob Fatu gets the win. I give the match a 4-star. It was a good street fight. It got a little sluggish at times, taking a little bit too much time, but they're two big guys, you know what I'm saying? It makes sense for them to be slower and more methodical getting involved. I thought it was turntable, and it was a good main event. But the thing is, after the match, he kept holding on to the tongue and death grip, and now his blood coming out of his mouth and everything. They have to get refs and everything to stop it. He gets off of him, and Royce is now in a seated position near the corner, and that man Jacob Fatu just keeps throwing back and forth on him. Hip attacks right on him, and then he grabs one of the chairs and puts it on his neck, and that's when Adam Pearce and all the officials come out. So he said, "Hey, stop! You need to chill." And Jacob pump fakes it like he's gonna leave, but then he runs back into the ring, does the hip attack with the chair there. More blood coming out of Royce's mouth. He's cooked, and then Roman Reigns theme pops out. He walks out, and he looks at Jacob in the ring, and he nods and throws up the 1. And Fatu puts up his 1. So Roman is impressed by that. And dang, Royce might be gone for a little minute because he got his ass whooped. And now that is going to be the end of part 2 of this Raw recap and review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel so you can get these every week and all like the other content. And check out my new music with my great friend Swear God HTSG2 on all streaming, link in the description, and it's a YouTube playlist of the songs on this page as well. I give this Raw a thumbs up, entertaining show. Especially coming off of SummerSlam, they could phone it in, but they don't phone it in. Roman popping up to Iowa is crazy. So I'm Twist. Remember, y'all, Jesus loves you, and always keep God first. I'm out.